Welcome to the deep dive. Wow, what a week in crypto. So much going on, blockchain upgrades, regulatory whispers.
Yeah, it's been nonstop. We've been sifting through everything, price news, DeFi, regulation, the works.
Exactly. And we're going to pull out maybe the dozen or so key things, the essentials you need to understand. That's the mission today.
Right, connecting those dots for you, showing how it all fits together.
Okay, let's jump right in. First up, Shiba Inu. They announced this Shibarium blockchain upgrade. The goal is better decentralization.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good, right? But the community reaction? Well, it's been a bit of a mixed bag.
Why is that, do you think? Hesitation there.
Well, upgrades, even positive ones, they bring uncertainty. People might be waiting to see, like, the real impact, fees, speed, that kind of thing. Plus, past experiences sometimes make people wary.
Makes sense. Then, the Cetus hack. $220 million hit on a decentralized exchange on the Sui network.
Yeah, big one. They froze a lot of it, thankfully. About $162 million.
But the controversial part was the Sui team thinking about using an emergency function to basically override transactions.
Exactly. And that just ignited this whole debate, what is decentralization if someone can just step in like that?
It's that classic tension, isn't it? Security versus core principles.
Right. Is it a safety net or is it too much control? Depends who you ask, I suppose.
Okay, shifting gears. XRP. It's been trading around $2.45. Pretty steady.
Mm-hmm.
But there's chatter about a potential surge. Seems linked to Ripple buying Hidden Road. They process like trillions in traditional finance.
Yeah, that's potentially huge. If Ripple can genuinely get XRP used within Hidden Road system, that's real-world utility, could boost demand way beyond just speculation.
Right, practical use cases, always key.
Definitely.
Then we had the Twenty P meme coin event. The former president held this exclusive dinner.
For the top holders, yeah.
But apparently, some attendees might have dumped their tokens right before. Price dropped about 8%.
Ouch. Classic meme coin volatility, isn't it? Even big endorsements don't guarantee anything. Justin Sun was there, though, backing Trump's crypto stance.
And CZ from Binance had to clarify he wasn't involved with some related project. Quite the sideshow.
It really highlights how unpredictable that corner of the market is.
Okay, regulation. Former Senator Pat Toomey, he advises Coinbase now thinks a major U.S. crypto bill might actually be close to a Senate vote.
Now that could be a real game changer. Clear rules in the U.S. That would be huge for adoption. Reduce a lot of the current uncertainty.
Definitely one to watch. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Metaplanet became Japan's most traded stock. Huge volume.
Shows growing interest over there for sure.
And Hyperliquid, they're pushing the CFTC for 247 crypto derivatives trading. Like DeFi operates.
Mm-hmm. And a CFTC commissioner even hinted that U.S. crypto futures might get the green light soon.
So you've got this mix, right? Traditional market interest meeting DeFi ideas.
Exactly. That 247 trading, if it happens, could really change things.
Let's talk Bitcoin. It pushed past $111,000. Huge milestone.
Yeah, but CryptoQuant is sounding a note of caution. They're seeing higher inflows to Binance, rising open interest, leverage, similar to what happened before corrections back in December 2024.
So, potential profit taking on the horizon?
Possibly. But it's complicated. Other data from CryptoQuant shows Bitcoin buyer dominance is still strong. HODLers are holding tight.
Conflicting signals, then. Keeps things interesting.
Always does. Highlights the volatility, short-term versus long-term views.
And what about altcoins? Talk of an alt season brewing, traders moving into XRP, Solana, ADA.
Yeah, we see that rotation sometimes when Bitcoin sort of stabilizes. People look for other opportunities. But, Bitcoin's direction usually sets the overall tone.
True. Okay, Tether. Big news there. They're basically saying no thanks to the EU's MiCA regulations for USDT.
Right. They have concerns about banking rules, the digital euro. They say they're focusing on users in places like Brazil, Turkey, where financial systems are less stable.
So exchanges like Binance, Kraken, they're delisting USDT for European users now.
Yep. It really shows the global regulatory fragmentation. Companies doing regulatory arbitrage, picking and choosing where they operate fully.
Interesting strategy. Okay, a few more quick hits. Bitcoin accumulation. Glassnode says it's the strongest since January. All wallets buying as it passed $110.
That feeds into the bullish long-term view, despite the short-term warnings we mentioned.
And major U.S. banks, JPM, BofA, Citi, Wells Fargo, reportedly talking about a joint stablecoin.
Early days, but wow. Shows TradFi is seriously looking at this space, maybe as competition.
Plus, the first XRP futures ETF launched in the U.S.
More institutional inroads.
So, wrapping this all up, Looking at these, what are the big takeaways?
Well, it feels like a few key forces are really shaping things. You've got the tech constantly evolving, like Shibarium.
Mhm.
Then there's regulation. It's coming, but it's messy, fragmented, like the Tether situation shows.
Right. And TradFi is definitely getting more involved. ETFs, maybe that bank stablecoin.
Exactly. And underlying it all is this ongoing push and pull with decentralization, like we saw with SUI. What does it mean in practice?
So technology, regulation, traditional finance interacting, and this core ideal of decentralization being tested.
That sums it up pretty well, I think. That interplay is what's driving the market.
Okay, final thought for you listening. We see traditional finance stepping in more, while the core crypto community pushes decentralization and new tech. What's going to be the defining blend, the dominant characteristic of this next phase for crypto?
Something to chew on.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.